So right now we're going to talk about the paradox principle. Something that I see as being the essential point, I think, in today's Parsha Toldot. And the principle basically is a principle about having two sides that contradict each other and yet somehow embracing both sides. So I'd like to ask some questions here. Dear God, what is the essence of this whole thing called paradox? The Parsha begins and often brings up a principle of inter-inclusion, which inter-includes Yitzchak's Gevurah, Isaac's Gevurah with Abraham's Chesed. And it invites us, it beckons us to try to understand how two very, very different types of pillars of world spherotic traits, Abraham with the yes saying and Yitzchak with the no saying, are actually both two parts of a whole that we need to somehow include within ourselves. So how do you bring those two parts of a whole together? How do you bring the idea of connecting, chasadim, together with the idea of disconnecting? How do you embrace both of them? How do you bring the effortlessness with which the chesed of Abraham was accomplished at all times with the hard work and effort of Gevurah of Yitzchak? How do you embrace both of those? And how do you bring together the reaching out of Abraham toward everybody in the world with the basically holding down the fort of Yitzchak and sustaining what needs to be sustained of Isaac? How do you bring together the love of Chesed of Abraham together with the fear, the healthy fear of Yitzchak? How do you bring all those things together? What's the connecting thread that brings them together? And how do you bring together the soul of Yaakov with the body of Esau that comes in the Parsha? And how do you embrace together the Yaakov with the Esau, all that they represent? And how do you bring together the elevation that Yitzchak looked at with hopeful eyes at his son Esau, hoping that he could elevate him to a holy place, together with his wife Rivka's take on the whole story, that she wanted to eliminate any type of falling off of the path that Esau represented? And how do you bring together the service of articulation with the service of action? The articulation, the kol Yaakov, the voice of Yaakov, together with the yadayim yedei Esau, with the hands or the action hands of Esau. How do you bring together the initiating of Chesed with the preserving of Gevurah? And I feel like my life also beckons me to do this inter-inclusion dance, trying to balance creative Judaism with observant, conservative type of holding down the fort type of Judaism, balancing teaching others, embracing that together with learning all the time from others, and coming together of taking advantage of all situations with being open and receptive to all new situations, to all new opportunities. Embracing the letting go with the control that needs to be happening at all times. Embracing the seeing challenges being opportunities together with the protecting myself from all of these challenges, from all these opportunities. How do we bring them all together? How do we live both sides of it? How do we live the paradox? Dear Yitzchak, God answers that, I would say. The paradox principle is the principle that brings together a partial situation into a whole situation. The paradox principle that you're talking about is the principle that takes you from a scattered and broken situation into a whole situation. The paradox principle which you seek out here brings together the wildness and the chaotic abandon of the lights of Esav, together with the orderly and the very, very controlled and fixed lights and vessels of Yitzchak, of Yaakov. The paradox principle basically allows you to reach out and be sustaining at the same time. The paradox principle allows you to connect to me, says God, in a very accepting way, seeing how everything is perfect as is, at the same time understanding that everything needs to be perfected. The paradox principle allows you to pray with all of your might, as Yitzchak was praying out in the field, and to understand that part of what is involved in making life rectified is to understand that you can't do anything at all in the other part, and to pray about it. And the other part is to understand that it's all about your efforts. It's all about the effort that you put into it, embracing both sides of those. The paradox principle is involved in basically showing you that your life is this beautiful, eclectic, wonderful, exquisite dance of meing and Godding, of connecting the you in the center stage with God in the center stage, and bringing out the fusion of both of them together. The paradox principle basically is the I and thou principle. There's me and there's thou in all situations. And there's we. There's turning the me and thou into a one singular unit called we, a unified singular unit that unifies all of the contradictions, that unifies the fire and the water into a peace, into Oseh Shalom V'Romah, from the highest heights, into one exquisite, beautiful, whole paradox. Paradox principle unifies the man and the woman into a situation of where you can scream out with celebratory joy, Viva la différence. What a wonderful, beautiful difference. What a wonderful differentiation there is between man and woman, between me and her, and him and her. And the coming together is bringing a whole new birth product into life. And seeing all of the alignments, and seeing all the harmony, and seeing all the greater whole of it all. The paradox principle, Yitzchak, is coming to teach you how to have your cake and eat it too at the same time. It's changing your life from a life of small-minded consciousness of only being able to see one side in a world of good and bad and this and that and dualisms, into a world of expanded consciousness and wholeness, where there are differences, and you can celebrate the differences, and you can see a greater whole and a greater gestalt in the connection of all those differences. Yedidai, 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 yedidai.